Hello viewers, welcome to another edition of Banking and More, where we bring the people who matter to discuss the issues that matter on the banking and related fields. In the first edition, we had an insightful discussion with the Deputy CEO of the Ghana Association of Bankers, a discussion that spanned the impact of COVID on the industry, digitisation in the midst of the industry, and the sector's response to a Bank of Ghana report that indicted banks and their relationship with customers. Today we bring you another insightful discussion, this time around with the CEO of the Ghana Interbank Payment and Settlement Systems, Mr. Archie Hesse. Mr. Archie Hesse heads the institution that is a national switch for Ghana, and we will understand how COVID is impacting their operations, how they are putting themselves together to take advantage of the opportunities that the pandemic provides, and what the future holds for GhIPSS as an institution. Mr. Archie Hesse, welcome to Banking and More.
Thank you very much, Maxwell.
Mr. Archie Hesse, how has COVID impacted your operations? And looking at who you are, COVID must be good for your business, isn't it?
Thanks for the opportunity once again. That's very true. If you look at the world of payments, one of the things that have been said is that the use of cash could actually be one of the sources by which the virus spreads. So worldwide, everyone is gravitating towards remote forms of payments, and therefore, which part of it is digitization. And we are very pleased to know that if you look at the volumes from March to date, you can see a drastic increase in some of our digital channels. I said some, because as you rightly know, commerce has actually slowed down. Business has slowed down. So although it would have increased, because commerce has slowed down, some of them, the volumes have been roughly around the same. But if it wasn't for the fact that it has slowed down, we would have had giant leaps. However, it's important to note that areas where we have made significant progress during this period has been the mobile money interoperability. And I'm talking about the process whereby you move funds from one wallet into another, or from bank account into a wallet, and vice versa. Those types of payments, we've seen significant growth in those areas.
We can say that interoperability came in handy for us as a country.
I think you're right. It's come in very timely for Ghana. If you remember, mobile money started somewhere around 2012 or so, and it started with MTN. And at that time, you can only transfer funds from one MTN network to the same network, and that was it. Then we had Airtel, then Vodacash, then I think Tigo also had their version before we had the two companies merging. But the three were working in silos. But with the invent of mobile money interoperability, it created the possibility where one is able to cross, and that has really helped the situation. So we do no longer need to look for someone with the same network before you are able to effect transfers. But once you know the USSD of your service provider, once you've clicked the star blah 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 hash, you can go through the menu, transfer, then you type in the mobile number of the recipient or the bank account number, and then you type in the amount, and there's a PIN that needs to be added to it, and then off you go.
What are the numbers saying? Where did we move to where as a result of COVID?
The first half of 2019, we chalked somewhere around 6.7 million. So I'm talking about January to June 2019. As we speak now, from January to June 2020, we are somewhere around 13-something million. So we have doubled it. The jump is quite significant. And I can see the trend continue.
Is that volumes or values?
I'm talking about volume. In terms of value, I think it's about 2 billion CDs thereabout. Yeah.
One of the challenges with electronic payment systems or digitization in general is adoption, and adoption embedded in it is a cost. How can we ensure that this is taken care of?
One of the role of a national switch is to ensure that the cost of transactions is at an acceptable level for everyone to embrace it and use it as a matter of course. Rome wasn't built in a day. It doesn't start immediately. Like you rightly said, previously one is able to transfer funds from one network to another, so maybe from MTN to MTN. And that cost, we don't have a say in it. That is determined by the specific network. I believe that most of it is free. That's what we call inter or intra transactions. The intra, majority of them is free. When it comes to inter, across, moving across, before GhIPSS came out with mobile money interoperability, there were a number of convoluted, difficult, complex ways that people were using. We had third parties that were connected to one mobile network to another, and we had token system that you have to go and get a token and then move it to another network. The usage was very, very cumbersome, and the cost was also very expensive. As we speak, when we initiated the mobile money interoperability with the industry, we looked at the cost that pertained at that time, and I strongly believe that we actually halved that cost initially. A year or 2 years on, there's a need for us to review it. And as we speak, that task has already started. We've lived it 2 years on. What has it been? But if you compare it to what it used to be, the cost is drastically lower than it has been.
So this is more like good news to users.
It is good news. And one other thing to our stress is that in the world of payment systems, it's a volume game. As the volume increases, the margins also, the cost per unit also decreases. So that's why we are currently engaging everyone to embrace the platforms. So the more we have a lot of people using it, the lower the unit cost will be.
With your experience, how can we increase usage of electronic products?
Okay, there are a number of steps to increase usage. One, the central infrastructure must be there, which is what GhIPSS is looking at. Then our main service providers are the banks, the mobile money companies, and then the fintechs. They consume most of our products. So we need to ensure that all our products have been customized to their systems, i.e. they have linked their systems to ours for them to be able to use it. And thirdly, and the third point is for them to enable it for corporate customers, individual customers, or entities to be able to have access to it. Let me give you an example. We are currently busy rolling out the QR code, which I'm sure you are familiar with it. So you and I will be able to make payments with our mobile app or the USSD of my bank or my financial service provider, so that when I go to a merchant, I can either use my USSD if I have a feature phone to make payments at the retail end. Now, GhIPSS, the system is ready. A significant number of the financial institutions have actually customized. They have tested with us, and the system is currently working for them.
How many of the banks are ready? How many of them have interacted their systems with the QR code system?
There are about 23 banks. I think about 13 banks are ready as we speak. More than half, exactly. Now, the next stage is for me, the individual customer of the bank, to have the possibility to onboard myself, which means that link the USSD or the mobile app to my account for me to use it. And then also for the financial institutions to furnish retailers with the QR code decal for individuals to be able to scan. And lastly comes awareness and promotion. So these are the various, I'll say, processes that we go through. And because we all work at different rates, you find out that there might be instances where we have a lot of banks ready, but they are now working on integrating their systems to ensure that the cash is available to the customers. I've realized that because of the COVID, yes, there's a need for digitized payments, but it has also slowed down the pace at which the financial services are able to make these systems available to their customers. So these are the various stages, irrespective of whatever product we come up with. First, the center must provide it. Second, the service providers must integrate it into their systems. Thirdly, they must come out with measures whereby it will become available to their customers. And then we have education, awareness, promotion, etc.
What were the timelines we were working with? When were we supposed to have done what?
Yes, I remember very well when the idea of the QR code came up, and we were tasked to come up with a universal QR code. Because at that time, the banks have started, 1 or 2 banks have started coming out with their own QR code. Again, they can only be used by their customers, which wasn't really what we wanted in the country. We wanted a QR code that every individual in the country will be able to use. That's where you enjoy economies of scale. And that's where the attraction is. That's where the usage also increases. Other than that, we all start going around looking for QR code that belongs to your bank, and that's not what we want to do. And that's the role of the center, GhIPSS, to ensure that you come up with universal standards that when everybody complies with, we can all work together. So when the idea came, luckily, we had the mobile money interoperability, which was one, and also the GhIPSS Instant Pay, the ability to move funds from one bank account into another instantly, or one bank account into a wallet instantly. So we then decided that what's the next thing that we need? All we need now is, with that engine or that foundation, we need a QR code, which is the black and white squares, that conforms with our instant pay, because the QR code acts like a point of sale device. So it's basically a channel. So the QR code is then linked to the merchant's bank account. Then we realized that in this country, we had a significant number of individuals who actually do not have smartphones. So we then decided that, look, let's add a number underneath, which is also tied to your bank account. So when I come into your shop and I have a feature phone, if my, feature phone, USSD, is linked to my service provider, I can type my service provider's code. Once I drop to the options, I can then type the 8-digit number underneath the QR code. I would immediately see the name of the merchant on my phone. And then an amount, I type it in, and once I press pay, it goes instantly into the merchant's bank account. And then there will be an alert, and the merchant will then receive it instantly on his or her phone, and the goods can be parted with. But we realize that we do want to use this same channel for the informal sector. Majority of the informal sector currently use mobile money. So there was a need for us to ensure that we create a situation whereby merchants or the QR code can not only be used by merchants with bank accounts, but also merchants with mobile money wallets. So it doesn't, the QR code we have in Ghana now, you can either link it to your mobile wallet, or you can link it to your bank account. When it comes to the customers paying, whether the customer is paying from their bank account or from their mobile money wallet, it doesn't matter, because in Ghana we have mobile money interoperability. as the center, the foundation. So a mobile money a merchant or a merchant who receives mobile money can actually be paid by someone who has the bank funds in their bank account. So once it goes through the MMI, the mobile money interoperability system, it means bank account into your wallet, or vice versa, or it could be bank account to bank account, or wallet to wallet, or wallet to a different wallet. So the mobile money interoperability that we had was the foundation. And what we have done is we have actually built a new channel, which is QR code, around it. And that's basically what has been done.
Okay, how much did it cost us to develop the system, the QR code system, I mean?
Like I said, we had the foundation there already. So it wasn't, I know a number of countries who had to develop it were costing them about 100 or so million. We didn't, I think something far lower than that, for which we are happy to. But I don't know the exact figure. I have to.
One of the primary objectives of GhIPSS was to drive Ghana's cash-lite agenda. After more than 10 years in operation, what would you say have been the achievement in that regard? How will you rate yourself in helping the country go cash-lite?
Yes, it's interesting that you say we've been around for more than 10 years, but GhIPSS is now a teenager. We are 13 years now. So I would say that before I come onto the rating, I would like to go through one or two things. The first is that we have managed during the 13 years to modernize the payment systems in the country to the level that is one of the best in the world. If I look at the check clearing system, before we had a paper where all the bankers go to the central bank with their suitcases to go and exchange the checks for clearing. Now they're all truncated. You send it to your bank scans it and transmits to GhIPSS, and then we then send it to the receiving bank, and then payment, pay or no pay decisions are made and they are paid. These are products in the batch environment which very few countries do have in the world. When you come to the cards environment as well, you see that from the network point of view, all our networks are linked together. If you have a card from Bank A, you can use Bank B's card. If you have a card from Bank A, you can use Bank C's point of sale. And we are also developing the e-commerce on the domestic arena. And if I look at from the issuing side as well, in Ghana, we now have our own homegrown domestic EMV card. EMV means that it meets all the international standards, which we've christened the GH-Link card. We also have the eSwitch card. That's a biometric verified card where you can authenticate using your fingerprint, appropriate for the rural areas, and it's also being used heavily by government for payment of salaries. Because when you use the eSwitch system, it comes with another subsystem which we call the PDS, a payment distribution system. So every pay file is biometrically verified. So it is unique. There's no way you can pay Maxwell, for example, if you are paid once every month and you are paid in January. The system knows that you have been paid in January. If another pay file comes for January and you are in there, biometrically it will flag it up. So it is being used heavily by government to eliminate duplications and ensure that payments are made instantly into individuals' accounts. If you so wish, when the QR code is also rolled out, you can also go to your bank's app on your phone and transfer or make payments electronically without withdrawing it. So then the GIP, the mobile money interoperability, that ensures that you can move funds from one wallet to another wallet, a wallet to a bank account to eSwitch wallet to a mobile money accounts wallet, which we call the financial inclusion triangle. It means that it doesn't matter which form your money is in the country. You can pay anybody, move it from one form to another, either by a means of transfer or even by a means of payment. And this, you all know, is unique to our country and the first. So we've come 13 years on, we've come from nowhere to being one of the best in the country.
Have we arrived?
Have we arrived? I would say that in terms of infrastructure provisioning from the center, we have. In terms of adoption from the banks, the mobile networks, the fintechs absorbing them, we are in the process. And then the next leg is making them available to corporates, individuals in the country, massive education and awareness. That's the area where we need to focus on. And I see that in the next 2-3 years, I don't see any reason why GhIPSS should continue turning out more systems or more new, payment instruments. I think what we have now, we have enough. What is left is to ensure that we work with our stakeholders to ensure that they incorporate it into, as part, integrate it into their systems, and then change their way of doing things from cash to electronically. This is where we are dropping the ball. So the universal QR code is going to address all these issues. I'm very confident that in the next year and a half, we will be there. As a result, I would say that the journey to a cash-lite economy, whereby maybe 80, 85, 90% of our transactions are done electronically, I would say we are 60% there.
This is still Banking and More, and I am your regular host, Maxwell Adombila. We are still here having a discussion on digitization and electronic payment systems with the Ghana Interbank Payment and Settlement Systems. Our guest is the CEO, Mr. Archie Hesse, and now we will discuss the future of GhIPSS in the midst of a pandemic. In the next 5 to 10 years, what role will you expect GhIPSS to play in the financial economy of Ghana?
We perform the center, create the central standards, payment systems for everyone to use. There are instances where they say, okay, we are an interbank company, but also moving towards a shared platform on behalf. And I think shared platform. So I see GhIPSS having started as an interbank company, also gravitating towards a shared platform for the financial industry.
The issue of fraud, is this something GhIPSS can do? Do you have the capacity to do that?
Yes, when it comes to fraud, Central Bank, that's the regulator for the financial services industry, has come out with a clear cyber security framework and procedures that every financial institution, including GhIPSS, must abide by them. So we need to tweak our systems, etc. In course of it, there might be certain aspects, maybe the industry could say, GhIPSS, can you have a fraud system whereby you can measure X, Y, and Z on behalf of the industry? We, the banks, we have our own, but let's have a central global one. These are some of the things that we can sit down and talk about.
Is this something GhIPSS can do?
It's something that we have started talking. And I know a number of financial institutions have asked, and it's in the pipeline, something that we would consider.
Well, there's this concern from some of your stakeholders, and some of us share in it, that there's the line between GhIPSS and its stakeholders, like the players in the fintech and banking sector, is being blurred. GhIPSS is gradually coming in as a player by introducing products that kind of compete with the platforms that it's providing for the players. What do you make of that? Why is GhIPSS doing that?
Yes, I've heard that phrase, a player and a referee, or something along those sides. I think it started from the beginning. And it's normal. Before GhIPSS started, the central bank was the clearing center. And then every bank had their own systems. Then GhIPSS was tasked to come up with an interbank system on behalf, where I think we started with eSwitch, which I said eSwitch was more of a central system. So it was alien at that time. Here we are, we have our own systems, and we are dealing with Bank of Ghana for only check clearing. Now, Bank of Ghana have set up a subsidiary, has a central system there called eSwitch, and we are all to subscribe and go to them for. So that was when the confusion was around, is that a role for the banks or a role for the central bank, etc. But we've moved on from there. All financial institutions have realized that interbank payment systems companies is the in thing in the world. Every country, they do have theirs. And if you look at their roles and responsibilities and the type of systems they churn out, it's very similar to what we are doing. Yes, we might be a little bit more advanced than most of them, but if you go to Nigeria, they have GhIPSS. If you go to the French-speaking countries, they have GhIPSS. If you go to the UK, they have, maybe it's privatized, the, what do you call it? Co. Germany has theirs, Morocco has theirs. Every country has their national switch, payment switch. And they are responsible to, very similar to some of the things that we have. There might be one or two additions, one or two subtractions, and that's basically it. But I see that we are more now in line after having lived together for some time. You know, when you form something new, this formation, storming, norming stages, etc., that you go through, and now we all know our place. So far as I'm concerned, between us and the financial mobile money entities, we are quite clear. It was the fintechs that at the beginning, they felt they were providing third-party platforms. But since they realized that here we are trying to connect to every bank. We are struggling. Initially, these are the 5 banks we dealt with. Now customer base is growing. There's a need for us to add the 5th, the 6th, the 7th. When are we going to stop? Why don't we just connect to GhIPSS? So you see what I mean? Now the role of GhIPSS naturally is now making sense. And we have gone through the process, and the central bank has taken leadership by saying that if we have to integrate the fintechs as well, we must make sure there is a framework or list of requirements that they have to satisfy, so that we don't just get anybody at all to join. And we have about 3 types of licenses that will determine what you can do. So the whole payment systems and supporting organizations and processes is maturing a lot in the country. We now have a Payment Systems Act. From the regulatory point of view, the Payment Systems Department at the Central Bank are the regulator for the payment systems industry. They regulate us, GhIPSS, and all the banks as well as infrastructure. We, GhIPSS, we develop the systems, operate it and promote it, but we are regulated by the Central Bank's Payment Systems Department.
How do you see COVID impacting the future of GhIPSS?
I think certain industries will benefit from the pandemic, and the remote means of payment. I've seen people who are paying on the roads where they are putting their funds like this, or they go to the shop and they don't even want to touch it, or they are given change and they sanitize the whole change, etc. So you see that everybody is now craving for electronic remote modes of payment. And these are some of the channels and products and services that we are currently deploying. So I can see that the COVID pandemic era will act as a catalyst to speed up the transition from where we are now to Ghana becoming the 80%, 85% that we want to achieve. So if it would have taken us 5 years, I think as a result of this dispensation, it might take us 2.5 to 3 years.
Plans to introduce a product for the diaspora so that remittance, they can easily remit to Ghana without using the various remittance.
It's happening as we speak. A number of the remittance companies outside, they've partnered with financial institutions. You remember 13 years ago, most of the remittances, they form alliances with banks, and you go to a bank branch and you are given a code, and when you take the code there with an ID, that's when your cash is given to you. Now, what you typically do is you give the remittance company your bank account number, or your mobile money number, or your eSwitch card number. And funds are effected through a corresponding bank here, and it goes through mobile money interoperability into your bank account directly, or into your wallet, or straight into your eSwitch. So a significant number of remittances now, you don't go with tokens and collect cash. I can't remember anybody going through that process anymore. Majority of them are going through bank accounts, mobile money wallets, and the eSwitch card. Who is Mr. Archie Hesse? Who is Mr. Mr. Archie Hesse? Well, I think in terms of the work context, I believe is what you're talking about. I think, first and foremost, I believe that as human beings, we have a higher authority. And I strongly believe that in the God factor. I strongly believe that whatever your task is on earth has been written before you were born. And how you achieve it is dependent on how close you are with your maker. So it's important that in all endeavors, you do very well to be close to your maker. It's challenging, it's difficult, but c'est la vie, that's the world. But that's the right thing to do. So I know a lot of people don't believe, or they don't see me as somebody who is working hard and all of that thing, but I think that aspect is the number one. And then also, I believe in hard work. I think in life, to get anywhere is difficult. So if you take things lightly and you don't, it's like you being in a classroom and not learning. Irrespective of how clever you think you are, you get to a stage where you realize that you need to sit down and learn. Even those who are learning are finding it difficult. So the more you spend time on, that's the only way you can perfect things. So I'm sure you see that a lot of people say, I'm very passionate about my work. It's day, night, morning, evening. And I live and breathe by that, because that's what the task I've been given. So I'm a very focused, driven person, believe in hard work, and if there's any luck, hey, good kudos. But I believe that the luck will come in if you are on the ladder that is meant for you. If it's not meant for you, irrespective of hard work, you will struggle. And that's why I said the God factor is very important. So I strongly believe that this ladder is mine, and that's why with hard work, I believe we are chalking success. So that's me. And yeah.
Okay, viewers, we've come to the end of our discussion, with the CEO of the Ghana Interbank Payment and Settlement Systems on payment systems on electronic platforms and digitization. We had a discussion that spanned almost every facet of digitization and provision of electronic products for the market. We hope you enjoyed it. Here at Banking and More, we bring you things that matter and get the people who matter to discuss it. We look forward to having you in the next edition on Monday. Do have a good business week.